Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Early Monday morning, the NewsClick portal was raided. Over 500 Delhi police personnel panned out across Delhi, NCR and even Mumbai. By the end of the day, the NewsClick founder was arrested. Their Delhi office sealed, electronic devices seized and stringent charges under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act was slapped on these individuals. Its founder Prabir Purkayastha, Abhisar Sharma and Urmilesh are some of those who were questioned during the day. Police have also sealed the Delhi office of NewsClick. Remember, earlier NewsClick was under the lens of the Enforcement Directorate and the Economic Offences Wing, as well as for alleged illegal Chinese funds to push for a pro-China propaganda. In fact, Times Now had exposed an elaborate mail trail which indicated that a US billionaire, Neville Roy Singham, was sending dictations in email trails to an ecosystem in India. It gave direction to push for a pro-China propaganda and really try and spread the message of China in India. We will get you the elaborate mail trail, but first listen in to what senior journalist Paranjoy Guha Thakurta has to say after he was questioned and then released just a little while ago.
9 police persons came to my home in Gurgaon at 6:30 in the morning. They asked me various questions. I came with them voluntarily to this place, the special cell. Am I an employee of NewsClick? I said no. I'm a consultant. Have you covered the Delhi riots? I said no. Have you covered the farmers' agitation? I said yes. They asked me whether I had made a phone call to the United States of America, to one S. Bhatnagar. I said, of course, he's my brother-in-law.
The journalistic fraternity has expressed concern about the raids and have called UAPA a draconian law used to target the media. Even the opposition is closing ranks and condemned what they call a brazen attack on free press. Ironically, they have boycotted me, but that's another matter. Today, they are taking up the cause of press freedom. Anyway, the government says that agencies are free to conduct probes whenever they have an issue they feel requires to be investigated. Listen in to this face-off.
I don't know what the details are because we had no prior information of anything. The police landed up saying they're making an inquiry on some bank loan that has been taken by this concerned person. This is yet another brazen assault on media and the freedom of expression.
कहीं नहीं लिखा कि आपके पास अगर गलत तरीके से पैसा आया होगा, आपत्तिजनक कोई कार्य होगा तो उसके ऊपर कोई जांच एजेंसी कार्रवाई नहीं कर सकती। जांच एजेंसियां स्वतंत्र हैं, वो अपनी कार्रवाई नियमों को देखकर करती हैं।
We now get you the email trail between the alleged China propagandist Neville Roy Singham and NewsClick founder Prabir Purkayastha, and this dates to 6th of January, merely a month before the Enforcement Directorate raided NewsClick. And if you look at this, this is on the 6th of January 2021 at 17:09 hours, and this is sent from Neville Singham and goes to Zoo and Prabir Purkayastha. There are other names, but right here it says, that this should be maps discussed where India should be seen as moving somewhere the map in such a way that more territory from India would be shown in China, and that is this conversation is all about. And they say, I think we missed the dotted line between India and China to left side of Bhutan. So clearly wanting to put India's territory more towards China, and that is what this entire exchange is about. And it said clearly China and India will have to have two maps inside their country. So what they want to do here is spread spread the fact that the map made by India is actually not the real map. The map made in China, where more territories towards China is actually, and create that, kind of questioning by the citizens of the government, looking at the map. That is what they're talking about. And all these lines and maps that are shared here in this mail, and say, here is a map from the Diplomat where China claims Arunachal Pradesh. So this is the part that they are trying to say should be circulated within India, so that questions then can be raised and questions can be asked of the government. Also, what NewsClick did is, this is another email, Neville Singham, March 30th, 2020, were written to Prabir Purkayastha, the founder and editor-in-chief of the news portal, who's just been arrested, and he talks about the fact that 3-article series on China and its handling of the COVID virus. They wanted to come to make China look as if it had handled the COVID virus situation very well, and we all know in this world how the COVID virus had spread from China, and the whole world went through a pandemic because of China, and that's what most people popularly believe at this point in time. Of course, there's no official word saying that. But, these were articles to actually make China look good. Please meet international friends who work together on creating information for the people. So they are picking up, and this Zoo character is the international person who actually provides material for writing such articles. Obviously works for China Daily, that's what is mentioned, and introductions are going on. Many of these email exchanges have been found, and a second article on how China learned quickly while handling the crisis. So they wanted to make China look good, and these are the kind of email trails that had been obtained by the Enforcement Directorate, clearly showing the link. Also, Prakash Karat, CPIM General Secretary, earlier had an exchange with Neville Roy Singham, US businessman. Good to get perspective from you who's living in China. So, good perspective is given to political parties back home in India on perspective on China and how people should really read China and, in fact, question India. Unsaid, but that was the understanding that many people have said. It's also says in that email exchange, it's good to see this type of coverage there. So this kind of coverage there, where anti-China feelings are being whipped up in India. They were talking about how it should not be and how China should be looked at very favorably in India. That is the kind of discussion between Prakash Karat and Neville Roy Singham. Clearly something that has raised the hackles of investigations. And ladies and gentlemen, on this, of course, many people are now asking, is this persecution or is this procedure that is being followed? That's the legitimate question that we are asking on the Newshour tonight. The debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour first. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, GVL Narasimha Rao, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Ishkaran Bhandari, Advocate, joining the broadcast in just a minute, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Tehseen Poonawalla, Political Analyst, Ashutosh, Political Analyst, Sanjay Hegde, Senior Advocate, and Tehseen Poonawalla. Press freedom? The entire Congress is out there to defend. But to say that this is against press freedom, I just want to ask you, are there any facts that are available to you that you can share with us that gives you the right to say that this move of the government is against press freedom? Because as of now, details are sketchy in terms of what really is the reason, what kind of information and evidence the police might have.
A very popular meme of a very famous YouTuber whose channel unfortunately is not being seen in Manipur, the most honorable Prime Minister, goes such: hypocrisy ki bhi koi seema hoti hai, wah Modi ji wah. Today, the same New York Times that my friends from the BJP and the members of parliament call a trashy newspaper that day in and day out damns the government of India and our honorable Prime Minister, is the gospel for which action is being taken. And legal jurisprudence is turned around, where you're told that you're guilty until proven innocent. Wah, Modi ji, wah, press freedom. I want to ask you one thing, Navika ji, and the reason this action happened this morning was because in Maharashtra, unfortunately, there have been terrible amount of deaths and the government wanted to divert attention. If there is anything wrong, you read out some articles. They are stupid articles, ridiculous articles, if true. These are alleged articles. Allegedly, there's a communication. If true, they're pathetic articles. But what part of this article is anti-national? Okay, so somebody is saying, say China is great. I am not for these articles. I think these all are left loonies. But how is it anti-national that terror charges are being investigated? That's point number one. Can you show me one article that is anti-national? Because I searched. Maybe my research is not so good. So if that can be shown to me. They're ridiculous articles. But what is? Second part of it. At the end of the day, it's not that UAPA is going to convict anyone. This government's conviction rate in UAPA is 3%, 0.6% in ED. The fact is the process is the harassment. And if a columnist, I write for example, the Times of India. Tomorrow something goes wrong for the Times of India. I'm a columnist. Can I be called up? It is to send a chilling message that if you write against the government, even if you're a columnist, we will haul you up under any case and the process will become the punishment. That is the message this government wants to give.
All right, great, Tehseen Poonawalla. But may I say, I may not sound very humble, but my show is also very popular. But the Congress doesn't come here. They boycott me. Freedom of the press? Question mark. Bhavna Kishore, my reporter, was arrested for exposing Sheesh Mahal by the Aam Aadmi Party. Freedom of the press? Not one tweet, not one statement from anybody in the opposition, not one tweet, and not too much noise in the media either. Well, freedom of the press, wasn't it under threat then, Tehseen Poonawalla? Why? Because we exposed Sheesh Mahal of Arvind Kejriwal costing 52 crores to the exchequer, and something that was shown as just refurbishment, but was actually a new bungalow. Well, freedom of the press was nobody's concern then. But of course, when it comes to a certain section or an ecosystem, look at the way everybody is going blue in their faces. GVL Narasimha Rao, different strokes for different folks?
Navika, I think that has been the hallmark of the Congress party and their newfound new allies who have been rivals in the past. I think double standards of the Congress party and their so-called INDIA partners is more evident in this than anywhere else. I think look at the manner in which they have all come out, because the Congress also is guilty of taking money from the Chinese embassy, from the Chinese, signed an MOU with the Chinese government. So they see possibly a great company in the likes of NewsClick, because they are all doing the same thing, including the likes of Rahul Gandhi, always trying to promote the Chinese agenda in India and always questioning Indian forces, Indian government. Here, the UAPA case is there because the money that was routed to NewsClick also found its way to the likes of Elgar Parishad. Those accused in the Elgar Parishad case with the Maoist links. In the Bhima Koregaon case, all these links are, these are part of the investigation. We may not be in the full know of all the facts that they have found in the investigations, but certainly when they file a charge sheet in the court, you will get to know all the details. The question is the double standards. You have the opposition alliance has banned 14 journalists because they are not palatable to them. But today, when a news agency, a so-called news agency, a portal, has received money from a foreign source, use that money for Chinese propaganda, which is also against national interest, I think it can only be called infiltration. China has infiltrated into the ranks of journalists.
But GVL Narasimha Rao, UAPA, UAPA for writing articles, even if it is for spreading China's agenda, UAPA, is it something that falls in place?
No, that's what I was telling you, Navika. NewsClick, money received by NewsClick to the tune of about 28 crores. That's information I have from from this gentleman, Singham, Naivel Roy Singham, that has found its way into those who are accused in the Gautam, that was rooted to Gautam Navlakha, one of the accused in the Elgar Parshad case, with Maoist links in the Bhima Koregaon case.
All right. Tehseen Poonawalla, what's your counter?
Prabir has, where Puryakasta was arrested, has very close links with
the Honorable MP is absolutely right. Sir, just one second. Sir, just one second. The Honorable MP is absolutely right. The facts will only come when the charge sheet comes. And in the Bhima Koregaon part, which the Honorable MP refers to, the charges of assassinating the Prime Minister, on which they were initially arrested, have been dropped. You see how this works? The harassment is the process. The process is the punishment. No wonder the conviction is 3%. They've dropped those charges. NIA has dropped it. Assassination of our present Prime Minister, those charges are dropped. But you arrested those people, and you had so many media stories on that, and that is the problem. UAPA for writing stories, they're stupid articles. I agree with you. They're ridiculous articles. They're PR articles.
UAPA is against the organization. UAPA is against the organization.
For what, sir? Somebody gave them 28 crores to write that Chinese COVID policy is good and India's is bad.
And the discerning media just writes. Anand Ranganathan. Anand Ranganathan, nothing wrong in writing articles. Journalists can be paid to write articles. After all, they are consultants and they can write. What's the big deal? Why UAPA? Please respond.
Good evening, Navika. Look, number one, there are three issues here. Number one, the very same folks outraging today were totally silent when non-BJP governments, Kerala, Mahavikas Aghadi, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, were and still are ruthlessly arresting, banning, filing FIRs against dozens of journalists, including Abhijit Majumdar just 2 days ago. Number two, is NewsClick the only mental asylum in India spewing venom? The answer is no. There are dozens of such outlets, Navika. Has Modi banned them or thrown them all in jail? The answer again is no. In fact, NewsClick is a kindergarten crash compared to what a Chennai-based Gobi Manchurian dishes out every day. Please understand, the issue is not about writing, as Tehseen says, some gibberish. The issue is money laundering and illegal activity. So the fact of the matter is that from church attack to Justice Loya to Rafale to selective lynchings to Ayodhya judgment to hijab, they have all been exposed every time, but every single time they brazen it out. In the garb of being virulently anti-Modi, they are anti-progress, anti-human rights and anti-everything. Look at their stand on farm bills, CAA and 370, it's proven this. And as far as the revelations that their funding comes from China, Navika, you just have to analyze their coverage of just two news stories that have heavily involved China in the last 3 years, Galwan and COVID. When every sensible person, including our armed forces, was telling the truth about China's criminality in Galwan, these Mao lovers were openly siding with China. Their so-called expert defense analysts were tight-lipped when China occupied 640 square kilometers of eastern Ladakh during the UPA, a fact reiterated by UPA's own foreign secretary. NewsClick's analysts were then saying that Galwan, the same Galwan that Modi was being accused of losing to China, the same Galwan was under Chinese occupation before 2014 as, quote, since 1962 war, China has extended its control of the entire Galwan River, unquote. They were reiterating that the McMahon line in the LAC, unlike the LOC, remains undefined at most places and is categorized under differing perception. And so these transgressions are historical. But in 2020, they flipped faster than a gymnast. And when the entire world was blaming China for the COVID catastrophe in Navika, these dunderheads were totally silent about China's criminal role and lying about India's COVID deaths and vaccines at 30 seconds. On point number 3, it's very important. Look at the hypocrisy of those outraging over UAPA charges. In 2011, police under Congress arrested 60 tribals and Dalits under UAPA and sedition, including the Dalit journalist Sudhir Dhavle. He spent 40 months in jail before being acquitted. Activist Gonzalez was arrested and convicted under UAPA when Congress was in power. But when he was arrested again under BJP, Congress cries emergency. UAPA is a controversial law because under it a police confession is admissible evidence. Congress accepted it when it was in power, but opposes it when it went out of power. But look at the perfidy. It still agrees with the same clause in Makoka As far as left is concerned, what can I say? 151 cases have been filed under UAP in Kerala and last year, including many journalists. This is their hypocrisy.
Well, the hypocrisy is all there to see. But Mr. Sanjay Hegde, the question here is, are there double standards and what does the law say on this? Can anybody today on day one begin to say that, oh, this is illegal or this is unjust or this is the death of democracy? Because UAPA as a law does exist, has existed in several governments, exists even today. And today, they felt the need to question some people. We have the email trails. We also understand from our sources that there are certain bank accounts and transactions that have, really happened. Not putting it on screen simply because unless it is verified, unless it is part of a charge sheet, do not want to put it up there. But all of these, from our sources, we learn all of these things exist. So is the police not within its right to investigate because everybody in the opposition is crying blue murder?
See, somebody correctly said that the essence of tyranny is passing a harsh law and using it selectively against your enemies. So today, the UAPA is invoked against certain people. Tomorrow, another government comes in, they will invoke it against certain other people. That doesn't make it right. You asked about legality. Well, there are several things which were legal at one point of time, but which after the passage of time were not found to be right. The Supreme Court once said that your right to life can be suspended during an emergency. Later on, the Supreme Court said, no, we got it wrong. The Supreme Court also said that, homosexuality could not be decriminalized. The Supreme Court later said it was wrong. Currently, the law is that there is a UAPA on the statute book, and the Supreme Court has interpreted it in a way which is not fair, just, and reasonable, simply because there are clauses in the UAPA which says that you cannot give bail unless you are convinced that there is no crime and unless you believe that no crime will be repeated. Now, the Supreme Court has interpreted it to say that, no, you can't even take a prima facie view of things. You have to wait for the trial to go out. That's a judgment in a Jammu and Kashmir case called Vatali. The consequence is that if a policeman says that under the UAPA, I am going to file a case and I am going to arrest somebody, it is very, very difficult for that person to be given bail. Courts have got around that by after a year or so saying, citing health grounds, this, that, and the other, granting bail on a case-to-case basis. But the invocation of UAPA against journalists is dangerous, irrespective of the government. The invocation of UAPA in a lot of cases is not justified. You see, we had created the UAPA. Or before that.
So let me ask you.
Just 1 minute. Tada, Pota, all harsh laws were created to catch terrorists. But what happened was that ordinary people got caught within it, and Tada and Pota were then taken off the statute book. Now you have the UAPA. Yes, Navika, you wanted to ask me.
Well, so let me get in Ishkaran Bhandari. Ishkaran Bhandari, UAPA is a draconian law. Everybody knows it, but everybody kept it on and used it when they wanted to use it. But it becomes more draconian when Modi is in power and becomes more misused when Modi's police. Modi's police is what they call him. So when Modi's police goes out, number one. Number two, without UAPA, 13, you all remember the Nupur Sharma show? 13 FIRs from one state, 1 or 2 from other states also filed on me for a statement I didn't make, somebody else made. I made, tried to stop that person and try to, bring back the debate to an even keel and make people apologize to each other and restore order. But 13 FIRs against me. In fact, I won't name the government, but a government even issued a lookout circular on me. And this was an opposition-ruled state, my friend. What about all of those who are crying blue murder today? Where were they then? Where were they standing for media freedom? Where were they standing with us when Bhavna Kishore was jailed? I'm asking, are there different ways of looking at different media people? What was our fault? Exposing, doing the journalism that we do?
Now, Navika, yours was the most egregious case. You are conducting a live debate in which one of the panelists says something which certain people take offense to and they register FIRs. As per me, there should have been no offense taken to what the panelist Nupur Sharma in that case said only. But forget that. Talking about you, you are just moderating a live debate and 13 FIRs on you for that. And not only that, let's see what happened on the ground. A Sartan se juda lobby gets emboldened. There were certain politicians egging it on, and we saw that playing out in real time in Maharashtra and in Rajasthan. So that is the reality of speech here. But I think we are confusing the issue because this NewsClick case is not about speech. Speech cases, if someone criticized the Prime Minister or called him a corrupt person or any of these things or created an issue which is a political ideological issue. Here we have a definite money trail. Media is the fourth estate, the fourth pillar of democracy. But whose democracy? Certain segments of that media is acting for a dictatorship in China. They quote New York Times ad infinitum as if it's the gospel truth. For once, New York Times, probably without realizing, because it was doing an exhaustive piece, they found out that this Neville Singham, whatever the person's name is a Chinese front. He is funding money to various organizations, including NewsClick. But today, 100 times they believe New York Times, but today, this one time they say, no, New York Times ko kuch pata hi nahi ki usne kya bol diya hai. And it is important. Why? Because when people or news organization which is demonstratively anti-India, I won't say anti-Modi, because in Congress time also their view was similar. Anything progressive about India, they would denounce it. So when those people in independent journalism are coming to the same conclusion, and has it happened hastily? Of course it has not happened hastily. 2021 there is an income tax rate, there are emails in this case, there is a money trail in this case. And please understand, UAPA terror laws we are talking, of course they are very stringent laws. Whether UPA law should be like this, whether money laundering law should be like this, whether narcotics law should be like this. Lot of these laws have various clauses which can be debated if we are having a debate on jurisprudence. But what is the fact of this case? The fact of this case is we are living in an age where war has manifest forms, including information war, including attempts to break the chicken's neck in Shaheen Bagh, including attempts to create fault lines and widen the fault lines. And in that era, let me just quote from US Homeland Security, which says foreign attempts to interfere in elections or even stock markets or to harm the interest of US is an act of terror on US. These are the global definitions now. And in this case, there is a money trail, there is an electronic trail, and we are only at the state of investigation. One last thing I would say, if 38 crores come from a nation which has demonstrable anti-India bias and you carry forward their talking point, then the government would have failed in its duty if it does not investigate. Let's put it the other way around. If they did not investigate, they would be failing in their duty. They would be failing to protect the Indian interest. So at this stage, it's only an investigation going on. Let's the charge sheet come out and then more details will come out. But you can't wash away 38 crores or 28 crores as the sum has been.
Well, let me get in Ashutosh. Ashutosh, are standards different for different people? You know, just somebody from an ecosystem, somebody who happens to be a senior advocate, puts out pictures of those who were summoned today and questioned, and puts out some of us journalists actually working in mainstream media, including my picture, and say we are hate mongers. Now, I want to ask you, if we had done this, we would be hate mongers. What does it make those who tweet our pictures and call us hate mongers? What does it make them? And are we in this country going to call out those people? Or is this only a victim card that they are allowed to play and we have to live with tags like Godi Media? What about this? Pay money, meet people, become consultants, write pro-China pieces. This is not Godi Media, and Godi of whom? China?
Navika, I thought we are here to discuss the NewsClick.
This is NewsClick, China.
Yeah. let me say this, and I'm very serious about it. This is the St. Kitts moments for the Modi government. I wish once he's not the Prime Minister, he should face what Narasimha Rao faced. And I understand that the BJP spokesperson is smiling. I'm really amused to see how Anand Ranganathan is trying to justify. When you try to justify unjustifiable, I will not say one looks like what it is. But the fact of the matter is, today the journalists of the country should hold their heads in shame that they can't stand up with a government which is out to kill media in this country. There is no other words. And today who are rejoicing today who are trying to justify the government's act will regret one day. Take my words, they will regret one day. I can understand in the forecast whatever they have done. I'm not privy of the information which is with us. But we are shutting down a newspaper office. If tomorrow if Vinny Jan does something,
logic?
Will there be
please give me a chance.
lock on the Times of India? Will there be lock on the Times now?
Ashutosh ji, do not compare our organization with any other. Ashutosh, I take strong objection. I'm sorry. This is a 188-year-old group which has done journalism in this country. I don't hold any brief for NewsClick. I am neither condemning them nor saying, but please do not compare our group, my media house, my organization with anybody else. I will not give you that right, Ashutosh. I will not give you that right. I will not give you that right, Ashutosh. मेरी organization के बारे में मैं एक लफ्ज़ नहीं आपको बोलने दूंगी. If you take the name, we don't write anything based.
I will quit if you will not allow me to speak.
But you
and
will.
I'm very serious.
Yes, you may be serious, but do not bring my organization. There is no case against.
You're not serious. You're only limiting your
organization.
So ask that question. Do not bring my group into it. You want to ask that question? Respond to that question, GVL Narasimha Rao.
I'm asking you.
Ashutosh, I can understand your pain. I can understand your pain.
I pray to the God that Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah should not have
your
to face
pain is
and Narasimha Rao has faced.
No, I can understand your pain because you are in the company of similar people. They are all you are all part of the same Modi hate lobby. But you have not been touched. Ashutosh, you have not been touched. Why do you think you have not been touched? Because you are not a part of it. You see, anybody who indulges in subversive journalism which is subversive, journalism which is subversive will be dealt with, has to be dealt with as per the process of law. You cannot indulge in subversion in the name of journalism, Ashutosh. I listened. Ashutosh, when you made those comments, I kept quiet.
आपका एंगर जो है वो बहुत सब्जेक्टिव है, comes out only once in a while, doesn't come out for the others. But Anand Ranganathan, you called out Anand Ranganathan, he has the right to respond. Anand Ranganathan.
Yes, thank you, because Ashutosh took my name. Ashutosh is very unfair now.
Mr. Modi worse than Indira Gandhi, mark my word.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
The gospel truth has been spoken by the great Ashutosh.
Ashutosh,
Navika, please.
Once again.
Let them arrest me. I'm not scared of this government. Let them arrest me.
Come on.
बदनाम हुए तो क्या नाम ना हुआ?
Don't make this.
बदनाम हुए तो क्या नाम ना हुआ? Okay, Anand Ranganathan wants to respond to what you said about him. Ashutosh, एक glass ठंडा पानी and Anand Ranganathan को सुन लीजिए.
Navika, if your blood is not boiling today, I am really worried.
Yes. My blood does not boil when you asked me to make my blood boil. Where was your blood boiling when there were 13 FIRs against me? How many of you came to the Supreme Court when I went to the Supreme Court for protection? How many of you came there? Today you are talking at the top of your voice. Where were you then last year, May, my friend? You lost your voice then and suddenly you've rediscovered your voice? Oh my God! My freedom does not bother you, but other people's freedom bothers you, and that is why I call you a divided, part of a divided media contingent, my friend, because the media contingent takes spot shots at certain media on every single occasion. But you want other people to stand with you when you never stand with anybody when things go against them from opposition parties. That is the time for you to clap hands, Ashutosh. आज outrage हो, पिछले मई में क्यों outrage नहीं दिख रहा था? Anand Ranganathan.
Navika, please, you said...
smiling today.
Navika, you asked me to comment 5 minutes ago.
I will smile when I feel like and I will cry when I feel like. You cannot dictate it to me, Ashutosh. Anand Ranganathan, floor is yours.
Navika, yes. Navika, please now let me have my say. 5 minutes ago, you said, Anand, have your say. And now, yes, thank you. You know, unfortunately, I don't think Ashutosh is in the studio. और वरना मैं कहता कि अपना दिमाग घर पे छोड़ के आ गए. ये घर पे ही है, ये हमेशा ऐसी बातें करते हैं. For him to take my name and to say I am justifying. Now, let me clarify 3 or 4 things. Other than the rank hypocrisy and shamelessness of Ashutosh, where he keeps quiet when journalists of a certain dispensation are ruthlessly hounded, arrested, jailed, banned, including you, Navika, तब इनके कान पे चुनी रेंगती. Navika, no, I can't. You know, this is very unfair. Navika, please, Ashutosh, you've had enough. No. Now, please be quiet and have the temerity to listen.
It's a sad thing that you are defending government now.
Navika, this
it's
is
a
very
sad thing.
Ashutosh.
People remember you, Anand. People remember you, Anand.
Ashutosh ji, just calm down.
Now, what is
Everybody, just like you had the right to make your point, Anand Ranganathan has the right to make his point.
So what is he saying? Please, Ashutosh,
why is making a personal comment about me?
But you made a comment about him. No, but you made a comment about him. The same freedom applies to him, sir. So long as he doesn't abuse you, because if he does, then I will come in. But if you have raised his name, then he has the right to respond. आप तो anchor रह चुके हैं. You know the rules, sir.
No, there are certain things which is beyond. This is killing media in this country.
Okay, all right.
If Anand Ranganathan is there to justify...
There are people who differ. My friend, they differ from your opinion. And Anand Ranganathan may be one of them, but listen to him. I'm lowering everybody's faders. Anand Ranganathan, make your point.
As I said, and maybe Ashutosh did not listen, he doesn't have ears, but I said I am not against what NewsClick was dishing out day in, day out, that Chinese propaganda. I am not for arresting people for writing gibberish and trash. Even Tehseen knows this. In fact, an American citizen runs an Indian portal and every day dishes out more hate and vituperative content 10 times, 100 times worse than NewsClick. Has he been arrested? People have accused Amit Shah, Jay Shah, all those people. Have they been arrested? No, I am not against that. But if there is money laundering, if there is illegality, if somebody is getting a quid pro quo, then certainly investigative agencies have a right to go after them. Does Ashutosh not? Maybe Ashutosh he's fed up of AAP. After quitting AAP, he wants to join CPIM. कि कम से कम नोटा के जरा वोट तो मिल जाएंगे. Otherwise, this kind of hypocritic shamelessness.
Absolutely, and that is the point. That is the point I'm saying at this point, Tehseen Poonawalla. We don't know. We don't know what the charges are. Yes, UAPA has been slapped on them. What is the evidence on the basis of which the special cell of the Delhi police is acting? We don't know. And therefore, to comment on the merit of the case would be early at this point in time. The question is that we have started calling it death of democracy, death of media freedom. I'm only questioning you on why are there different standards for different media people? Just simply that question. It's a simple question.
You are right. We don't know what the charges are. And they may turn out to be completely different from what is told in the media. For example, in the Bhima Koregaon case. But in this country, the legal jurisprudence is you're innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. And that's the problem, Navika ji, that we are standing up for. We all stood up for you. At least I did, Navika ji. And
yes, you did.
And I would stand up for you.
Yes, you did.
But I have a question,
yes, you did.
Navika ji.
But there are not many in the opposition parties.
And I want to make one point, Navika ji. Let's
Yes.
assume that there was money laundering. Let's assume that to be true, what Anand is saying, and that's a serious offense. But how would a columnist know what is the money laundering? The fact that they're going after columnists to silence them, Navika ji. If the group has done something wrong, this NewsClick group, please, by all means, put them out and prosecute them. The columnists who write one article, two articles, maybe gibberish articles.
But we don't know.
Maybe a dare.
But that's the
They should be
point.
innocent.
Ishkar and
They should be
Bhandari,
innocent.
we don't know. There are timings of checks,
Navika, one second.
and
Yes, one
these are being
Yes.
connected to
Yes.
certain incidents, and
Yes.
following that there are articles. We don't know ultimately whether they will stand the scrutiny in a court
Yes.
of law. We don't know yet. They've just
Navika
been
ji,
summoned. Two arrests have been made. The others have been allowed to go home. Why is everybody
Yes.
going blue
Yes.
in their face?
Yes.
Navika.
Amritanjan Lana, Ashutosh is there.
Navika,
Yes. Navika
coming
ji,
to you.
two short points.
Yes.
First, Navika ji, two short points actually, which are very important in this case. Thank you. Navika, two short points. I was amused to see Ashutosh's blood boiling because you started the debate by telling how you faced 13 FIRs. And his answer to that, if you can replay that clip, was, are we here to talk about NewsClick or not? Are you a lesser citizen of this country? In Kashmir, if Kashmiri Pandits suffer, nobody speaks. But a stone is thrown at certain religious structure, everybody starts jumping. Are you a lesser citizen of this country? Are you a lesser journalist that your 13 FIRs, Ashutosh casually dismisses that I will not even talk about it? That he is doing even today. You play that clip again. He says, are we here to talk about NewsClick or this? What is all this? You facing 13 FIRs. But now coming to the serious issue, please understand, arrest, we do not even know who all has been named in the FIR. I have not read the FIR. I don't know if you have read the FIR or not. It's a stage of investigation. If money came, and as I know, they have only arrested 1 or 2 people right now, which would be the people who were involved in the money dealing. Whether a particular journalist or whether 2 journalists were then acting in cahoots and leading this, were they innocent? They did not know whether the management or the editor framed the storyline. All that we do not know. Let the investigation happen. But as of now, those journalists or columnists, as Tehseen is saying, have not been arrested. But in any investigation, you summon people of that organization to find out what was the inner working. So let us not prejudge the stage. Let us see what comes out. I again repeat, criticize the government daily, and so many channels on YouTube, to blogs do it. But if there is 30 or 20 or 38 crores, that has to be investigated. That is not a freedom of speech case. That is a money laundering case, and that also from a country with which we have tensions on the border.
Narasimha Rao,
So let us be clear of what the case is.
Once again, I ask you the question, UAPA, is that really something that is required in this case?
what is required depends on what the investigative agencies have found. Certainly, this began as an ED investigation. There was an income tax probe, and certainly today, if UAPA has been charges have been levied, they certainly have concrete information. Wait for the charge sheet to emerge to know, and it is for the courts to decide eventually whether the charges hold or not. Nobody has been sentenced today.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and watch. We'll have to wait and watch. And may I say this? May I say this? And this stands for every journalist, every person in this country, that nobody should be unfairly arrested or cases be slapped upon them, whoever they are, any citizen of India. Nothing should be done unlawfully. Nothing should be foisted on them. This is not just about the media. But when we prejudge situations, I just sometimes wonder, why do you prejudge in some cases? And where is your voice in other cases? It's a question I will continue to ask, simply because if you're fair, be fair to all. If not, you will have to hear the other side of the story. That's where we leave it for tonight. Thank you very much to all my panelists joining me on debate number 1.